I knew KRISTIN SMART. Hello and welcome to this CCB video blog. Now I'm actually a fishing channel, but I've been a videographer since the 80s, and I love to do videos, obviously that's why I'm doing this one, about things that interest me and things that I've been involved with that have nothing to do with my main channel and fishing. So that's actually why I'm coming out and doing this video. I lived in San Luis Obispo for 16 years. I went to Cal Poly. I graduated in 1993, and at the time of KRISTIN's disappearance in 96, I worked for the food service at Cal Poly. Now everybody that lives in the dorms and all that, they have a meal plan, and that's how I know KRISTIN. I mean, at times where I served her food or I worked the register, she would come through in that. So I did personally meet her and talk to her. I mean, that was my only relationship with her. That I didn't know her off campus or outside of the food service or anything. But I did meet her and see her and say hi to her and talk to her while she was getting her food and going through. And that's what makes it really weird. I know that guy did that podcast, In Your Own Backyard. And yeah, when this happened and suddenly on the news when she came up and they showed the picture, I was like, I know her. I mean, through what I just told you, I didn't know her, like hung out with her, partied with her or anything like that. I just knew her because I had met her. But at this time when this happened, this was the biggest, I mean, this was a national story. This was huge. It was a hot topic. I was there during all of it. I mean, it was on the news every day. They were always announcing where you could become a search party, because at the time, you know, everybody thought Paul did it. I mean, he was the last person to see her. So they thought the body was buried somewhere. I mean, if you don't know Cal Poly is this town. It's an ag school. The campus sits right here, but behind it is acres and acres and acres of open land. They would have these search parties, people get together, everybody went, they went into the valleys, went everywhere, searched for her. I knew some people that volunteered and went on these search parties. At one point, they actually excavated one of the valleys or something because it led them there. They dug up looking for remains. I think at one point, they actually thought, or there was a rumor that he buried her by the P. Now, Cal Poly up on the hill above the campus is this P. A lot of students go up there and would party at night. It was right behind the dorms. They go up there, you'd sit up there, you know, drink beer or whatever. It overlooked the whole valley and the whole campus at night, and so it was a beautiful view. But somewhere a rumor came out that they'd heard blah 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 blah. So they did that. I was there. I saw like a cat up on the hill or people around the P, and I was like, and somebody said, oh, there's looking possibly. So I was really a part of this. I mean, it was in my whole backyard. It was a topic for like 2 years and huge for the first year. And so that's why I'm doing this, because I was so there at the time. But there is a point that this story becomes really interesting, and that's kind of where the title comes from. Sunday night, it was April 10th or something, for some reason, and I hadn't thought about KRISTIN SMART in probably 10 or 15 years. Suddenly Sunday night, she popped into my head. So I started thinking about that whole situation and how weird it was that somebody that I had known or at least met suddenly disappeared, and I don't know where it came from. I mean, there's been nothing on the news about it forever. I didn't have any forethought of it, and I didn't see anything that reminded me. I don't know why. She suddenly popped in my head, and I started going over all the stuff that I remember from it and everything that I learned about it and just the situation. And since I am a YouTuber, every morning I check YouTube and I go in and check my comments and do all this, my business side of it. So lo and behold, Tuesday morning when I get on, when you get on and in your page and they have your recommended, right there, I saw a video and it said 2 men arrested in KRISTIN SMART's murder. And I went, I did the jump back thing. I was like, what? I mean, just because 2 days ago, out of nowhere, out of the blue, I thought about her for some reason. And all of a sudden, here's a video, and the longtime suspected person was arrested for a murder. And that just, I like I said, I did jump back and went, what? So I watched the video, and when I watched the video, they talked about search warrants at Paul's dad's house in Arroyo Grande. This is where it gets even more interesting. See, at the time when this was happening, everybody had their theories. All of us thought Paul did it. You would sit around at parties, you'd sit around at bars or anything like that, people you're talking to. Everybody had their theory of where the body was, where it was buried, or if he took it somewhere else, or, I mean, it was a hot topic. But that was the focus. Everybody was like, we know he did it, and I think the body's here, I think the body's here, I think, it's here, it's this, and, they never found it. They still haven't found it. But yeah, it was a hot topic. Well, I had a roommate named Steve Royal, and I don't know if he was my roommate at the time we talked about this, or just prior to it, but we were friends until I finally left the capital area. He had this theory. He told me that Paul's dad worked for the sheriff department. I don't know if he was a sheriff, or I don't know if he said his dad knew a bunch of the sheriffs. He said his theory was that his dad was involved, his dad knew about it, his dad helped him hide the body. And then he said it's really funny because at the time this happened, they were doing construction at his dad's house, and they were laying down cement, and they were building a deck. And I was kind of like, oh, so you think they buried the body at his house in cement under the deck? And he goes, yeah, that's my theory. His dad knows, his dad helped him bury it, and they buried it in the construction they were doing at their house at the time. And that sounds like a movie, a made-for-movie story. Like, who would bury a body at their house, in construction at their house? So I had that in my mind, and I knew that. So when I saw this video, I started researching all the videos. I started going through and trying to read, because I'm like, okay, a search warrant at his house. They're back to his house after 25 years. And my friend predicted that. So I started looking. What I was looking for was some evidence that it had something to do with the deck. So then I found out they confiscated some trucks that they owned during the time period. They took away, evidently, a Volkswagen thing. And then I read that they had radar, ground penetrating radar at his house. And I'm like, ooh, okay. And then I said they dug some places around the yard. And I'm like, I'm still waiting for evidence that they're focusing on a deck, because he said they were building a deck, new construction on a deck at the time for disappearance. So then I found an article from the local news station in San Luis Obispo. And right there was this paragraph that said, the people serving the search warrant, they were focusing on a deck, and you could hear chainsaws and power saws working all through the day. And that's when I did another, what? No way. I mean, I was blown away. I'm like, wow, they haven't found the body yet, but they're back at his house, and after 25 years of not arresting him, they suddenly have enough evidence to arrest him. So whatever they're finding at his house, and the fact that they're tearing apart a deck, I'm like, wow, he might have predicted this 25 years ago. So, I mean, I said we don't know. The evidence from it is still sealed. They've already said they haven't found a body yet. But it will be really interesting if where they're looking right now, which is something my friend predicted 25 years ago, ends up being the place that they find the remains of KRISTIN SMART's body. Like I said, it's like a made-for-TV story. I mean, obviously I heard about it, I remembered the story, but you wouldn't think that it might be something that was true 25 years later. I said, we still don't know. I'm putting this up before they've even, they haven't found the body yet, in the next couple weeks or whatever, if they do find it. But it would be really interesting if they did find it at his dad's house. And another interesting thing that happened, I said I do a fishing channel. I was live. I talked about this a little bit on my live on Tuesday, and I have a longtime viewer, and he showed up in the comments and said, I'm related to KRISTIN SMART. Why are you talking about her? And I was like, what, you haven't heard? He hadn't heard the story yet. He didn't know that Paul and his dad had been arrested for a murder. And then he left a comment and said, we always knew it was Paul. So that's just kind of, I mean, the fact I thought about her 2 days before any of this came out of the blue. And then the fact that one of my longtime viewers is related to her. That just makes this story like even weirder. That's why I came on and did the story, because I was there. I lived it. I saw the whole thing, and in the next couple of weeks, it's going to be really weird if he did know where that body was. And it's kind of creepy, because for somebody to live in a house for 25 years with a body buried in it that his son murdered, that's creepy. But that's going to do it for this little vlog. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Give some thumbs up, share this, and I do other videos like this too. It's not just all fishing. If you really liked it, go down there to that little red button there, turn it gray, and subscribe. I'd appreciate that. Till next time.
That was terrific!
Great! Yeah! Best bit! Fantastic! Yeah, it's really great! Really pisky, yeah.